It's time for In Bed with Jed.
Welcome back to In Bed with Jed, the virtual edition for now, until we can go live again, because I'm really excited when we can get that opportunity. And today, we're actually out of the bed. Yes, I am up early, as is my special guest, but more about him soon. And we are actually out of the bedroom and into my living room turned workout space, because many of us are working out at home simply because we have no choice. And that leads me to my guest today, and I am, like I said, so excited, because this man is really a multi-talented, multi-hyphenate. He is a singer, an actor, a comedian, a writer, a director, producer, and acting coach in New York City. Please welcome Kevin Reed. And Kevin, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I didn't even know I did all those things, so no kidding. But it sounds fun when you say it.
Well, it is on your official bio, so.
Well, you can't say when you talk about yourself. I mean, unless you're, writing some sort of business letter or something. I can't. When somebody says, "What do?" You say all those things, and they think either that okay, you're doing none of them, or you're really trying to show off. So it becomes challenging to properly present it. Yeah.
Well, in a city like New York, to not show off would make you a statistical anomaly, right?
I guess so. Yeah.
And also to not be a multi-hyphenate, because in this town we all wear many hats. You just wear many than most. And we're still not done with that yet. We're still not finished with your qualifications yet. So.
Oh, there's more? Okay, cool.
There's more. There's more on the way.
Cool. Good.
Well, people ask me, because I work in a hospital, I'm a registered nurse, people ask me about advice for health and fitness all the time, especially nowadays when most of us are not lucky enough to have a home gym. So the gyms are closed, the indoor swimming pools are closed. We can go jogging, we can go running, we can use some makeshift equipment at home, more about that later. But most of us are, kind of a little bit lost when it comes to staying fit during the pandemic. And we also don't really know much about nutrition. We're eating more, sometimes the bad foods, we're eating too much sometimes, drinking too much, and again, not getting enough exercise. So that's when I always call in the experts. I'll give advice to the best of my ability, but sometimes it's time to rein in the people that really know what they're talking about. And Kevin is one of those people, because he is a personal trainer, and he trained with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and certified. And he has a website called theaccomplishedbody.com. I love that already. I mean, to me, that's just perfect. So Kevin is going to speak to us about that. And Kevin, first off, how are you doing during the pandemic? How is life during lockdown treating you?
I'm doing all right. I mean, I feel like that there are everybody has like a very different place that they've come to during the pandemic. One is maybe gone downhill a little bit because they've unfortunately become unemployed. Some people have had to move out of the city, and obviously it's incredibly tragic and difficult. Other people are perhaps thriving. I know a lot of people who are actually in their position. They have a lot more responsibility than they once had as far as work is concerned. For me, I actually this sounds terrible, but I'll follow it up. I actually have been enjoying the COVID lifestyle. There are three things about the COVID lifestyle I despise. One is not having my Saturday night out. Two is not being able to really see my family, especially my dad, who is in Florida. So I can't really fly down there. He's also immunocompromised. So that's challenging, and friends and all that kind of stuff. You got to be very careful. And three, the whole people dying thing, that's not high on my list of good things during the COVID era. So people getting sick dying is terrible. As far as the lifestyle for myself, I've enjoyed the lifestyle in that I've been able to accomplish a lot creatively. I've been developing a pilot, which has been picking up a lot of forward momentum, and recording and stuff like that. And as far as training, my training business has actually picked up. My private business picked up, which is kind of amazing. I was not expecting it. By the way, if there's too much background noise, I could always go inside, and I'm squinting and I'm outside. And
If I didn't hear all that, I wouldn't know we were in New York City. So.
Oh yeah. Well, my mom I'll be 10 blocks away, and there'll be a horn honk 10 blocks, south. And my mom will say, "Are you okay?" I said, "Mom, the horn was 10 blocks away." "Yes, I'm fine." with the earbuds. But yeah, business has actually picked up during this time period. So training is different than it was for obvious reasons. No gym, social distancing. Although now I guess people like to call it, which I agree with, physical distancing, and virtual training. So I never imagined I would ever do virtual training. It's been, especially with clients I've worked with, it's a little more challenging with a new client, but still very possible. But while it's not ideal, it's actually been really successful. So that's kind of exciting, because I didn't imagine that I would be using that kind of medium to train. Otherwise, a lot of outdoor social distancing, physical distancing sessions. And yeah, so things have been pretty decent for me during this difficult time.
Yes.
And it's a mental game, as we know, that we have some basic knowledge in fitness, all of us do. And we know that fitness, that working out or some cardio or even just walking puts us in a better state of mind. So it becomes even more vital during this time, obviously. But everybody has their ups and downs during this time period, and I've had my ups and downs for sure. Sometimes I'm more motivated. Sometimes you want to sit on your couch and do nothing because it feels never ending. Hopefully there's a trajectory where there will be something good coming up in the near future regarding it.
Well, we can all hope so. And like you said, if there's a silver lining on this cloud, it's that we have found new ways to become creative in all aspects of life, whether it be entertaining, whether it be socializing, whether it be staying fit. And you are a personal trainer, and the first thing that a lot of people say when the subject comes up is, "Oh, I can't afford it. I can't afford a personal trainer. That's just too expensive," especially now, because there are a lot of people laid off, there are a lot of people on furlough, there are a lot of people who you can't get as much overtime. And so I always say to them, well, what price do you put on your own body and your own health? That's priceless, and you can't really put a dollar amount on there. But what would you say to them, or someone that is kind of reluctant, or maybe thinking about getting a personal trainer? What would you say to them?
Well, I do genuinely care about people's well-being, even when I first meet them. When I first meet them, I don't know about any of their flawed personality they may have. And even if I'm training them for a while and I learn about it, you move past that. But point is, I really do care about people, and I want them to be sort of the actualized version of themselves, or the best versions of themselves, because I don't like being upset. I don't like being sad. I don't like feeling badly. I don't like all these, things. So I want others to be able to feel good about themselves, mentally, physically, and otherwise. So most people, when they first get into training, a lot of that is like, you have to deal with sales and all that kind of thing. I hate selling, and I'm not really a salesman, I don't think. So, I'm just very sincere and honest with person. Well, and I'll have somebody come to me, they'll say, well, I can't really afford it. And then they'll tell me about how they were out Saturday night, had 17 shots, at some rooftop bar. I'm like, okay. And I can't change their lifestyle. And if that's what they like doing and they're doing it safely, I don't know if 17 shots is safe, but they're doing it safely, great. Go out, have fun, do your thing. It's about whether it is a priority in your life. So monetarily speaking, okay, can you get 10 shots maybe Saturday night and put that money towards bettering yourself and feeling better and aesthetically looking better. You know, most people work out for aesthetic reasons. I shouldn't say that. Most younger people work out for aesthetic reasons.
Vanity.
I think, and as we continue to get older, then it's really to sort of stay in shape or keep yourself from declining, continue working on your mobility and all those kinds of things in order to stay healthy. But yeah, I'm a terrible salesman, I think. Other people might disagree, but I think I'm a bad salesman. So I'm just honest. And we talk about how it will improve their lifestyle and improve their life. And, you know, I work with all different populations, very young people. Now, when I get to work with very young people, it's fascinating because, and I'm sure you have a lot of questions. I'm talking a lot, so if you want to throw anything and do it. But it's fascinating because young people, a lot of younger people, like in their early 20s, let's say, they don't see the value in training. Now, of course, they often do train with people if they are in sports, if they are in, you know, in a collegiate sport environment, whatever. One session, and they understand the value in training for various reasons. For one thing, they can't understand how they, you know, got out of breath or how such and such was difficult, or the reason that is behind the rhyme of training. Anybody could lift weights and overload their muscles. Anybody could do a bicep curl. Are they doing it safely, effectively, efficiently, and minimizing the chance of injury? You want to do all those things. So first of all, you know, people come to me, they might have, what's the term I'm looking for? They might have diminished returns, or they've hit a wall, and they might, at least aesthetically, be in decent shape. And they say, well, I've hit a wall, this isn't happening, I want bigger arms, I want bigger this, I want to lose a little more weight, whatever it is. And I say, okay, you see all those machines over there? We're not going to use them for a while. They say, well, what are you talking about? I want to get bigger. I say, okay, well, we want to work on joint stabilization. We want to work on, you know, different kinds of balancing, things that are really that are the foundation of training, so that we don't just want to put 100 pounds on you. If we just put 100 pounds on you and your body is not ready for those 100 pounds, even if you can lift it, over time, you have a much higher chance of getting injured, and just not really feeling great. You know, your muscles want to be an ideal length around your joint, and your muscles want to be that ideal length in general. And obviously there are other things we contend with, like a work culture or just work in general, where we're sitting down, you know, all day long, and our muscles are not at ideal length. I don't know why I put that in quotes, but anyway, but then, usually as people age, before I even have a conversation with them, do understand the value in training.
Yeah. So the important thing is people don't realize this. It's not just what you do, it's how you do it. And
right.
This is why, like, even like doing like a deadlift, it has to be a multi-step procedure before you even put that weight on, because you can seriously get hurt if you
and you're going to, if somebody says, oh, I want to accomplish this, you know, you go by the sort of, it's cliche, but it's true. It's absolutely vital that you have somebody's goals, needs, and abilities, right? So what is your goal? Okay, my goal is I want to lose a little weight and I want my abs to pop out. Okay, well, I'm not saying that's a bad goal. I'm just saying there's more in the midsection than abs, and you're not going to lose weight and have popping abs just by doing sit-ups. And too many sit-ups are probably not good for you too, because you have a lot of spinal compression. But so, okay, that's your goal. So I want to help you meet that goal. So then what do you need to accomplish that? Okay, your shoulders are falling forward. You have certain conditions. You had surgery on you had a knee injury, and you might have some weakness there. So what do we need to do with your body to accomplish it? Okay, now what are your abilities? Now, you could be a professional athlete and not have the ability of somebody else. Because everybody has very different abilities. So it's not about whether you're good at this or bad at that. It's, well, where can we work you? So if you're not good at very fast movements, for argument's sake, like power movements. I'm not going to throw power movements at you. Now, I want to prepare you anyway for those power movements. I might not do that in the beginning regardless. But the point is, if that's not something that your body works well with, I'm not just going to throw that at you. Can we work towards that? For sure. Let's find a way to improve upon, upon your ability. But currently your ability is this. So we're looking at your goals, we're looking at your needs. Okay, this is what you need in order to accomplish your goal, but what are your abilities in order to make all that happen?
Right. Wow. Now, for most of us who, don't have the luxury of having a home gym, what are some essentials that we can do at home? Presuming, of course, and we talked about this before. You don't even really need equipment, but like, what are some things that would be very helpful if you want to work out at home? You don't need equipment to do sit-ups. You don't need equipment to do push-ups. You don't need equipment to do jumping jacks, for example. But what would you say are some essential items that would really help while we can't go to the gym, while we're working out at home?
And one can work out with nothing, right? So you have your body weight and you're working on mobility and all those kinds of things. But whenever I get a new client, especially during this time period where gyms are not open, there's certain things I recommend to them. There are the obvious things that people think about, especially in this pandemic, that people are using a lot more, like bands. By the way, I don't know if this is true. There's so many stories I've heard, and now I sound like the leader of the free world that shall not be named, because every day is still shocking. But anyway, yeah. But there are stories I hear. So with bands, for instance, I heard, but I had heard once that Tom Brady actually only used bands to train, which to me isn't surprising, but people are like, how is that possible? Actually, it's funny because with bands too, a lot of band work, yes, you can use bands when you're on your back, or on your front or whatever, but some of that work is going to be standing up. If you have a door anchor, that's something I will recommend to people. I actually have like these anchor things up and down my door, which look suspicious, but it is for working out. One story I heard once is with football training, there are all these guys lying down and they're bench pressing, they're in their gym, and the guy comes and he says, why are they lying down? Why are they bench pressing? And, the coach says, well, hello, they're getting stronger. They're working their muscles. And the guy says, who plays football lying down? So, yeah. So and by the way, there is a reason for everything. So if you want your body to look a certain way, or you want certain strength, I'm not saying not to do those things. Sure, do these things. If you're standing up, let's say doing a chest press with a band and a door anchor, then there's a lot of engagement in your core. As far as other things I recommend, I love balance stuff. So whether it's a balance disc, which is usually wooden, or whether it's like a rubber balance disc. Some things are challenging for people to keep in their apartment, including me. And my studio apartment is fantastic, and I'm on this beautiful balcony, but it's a studio apartment. So I basically have a Swiss ball, a Physio Ball, just out in my apartment. So I do recommend that. That can be used as your bench in many ways if you have lightweights to use, and I highly recommend it. With all my newer clients, I usually use and as we continue to work, but the Swiss ball, because what it forces you to do is it forces you to engage your entire body as, let's say, you're doing a chest press, because you're having to keep those hips up, and anybody can go on a bench and lift weight. But are the proper things going to happen to the body that you want to happen as you're lifting that weight? Swiss ball, balance stuff, foam pad. I don't always recommend getting super expensive things. Some things, quality does matter, and even just the feel of it. So I would say for a foam pad, to get that better foam pad, A Swiss ball, you could kind of get a cheaper-ish one, although I had one that started getting misshapen too quickly. Um, Bosu balls are expensive for something like that. You would think they're maybe like 60, $70. It's like $150. So they do have alternatives. I mean, you can get a full gym for under 200 pretty easy. And you could get sort of a full gym for under 100 pretty easy, depending on the items you're going to get. But so Swiss ball, Bosu, balance stuff, foam pad, bands, both long bands and short bands, infinity bands. Yeah.
Right. Now, what do you feel about it's funny, when the pandemic first happened, I went out to the only stores that were open, which were Walmart and Target, and
Mm-hmm.
the whole exercise section was decimated. It really was. So I spoke with the woman that worked there, this really cute girl, and she said, oh yeah, at first everybody was buying toilet paper and cleaning products, and then in the second wave, everybody was buying recreational stuff, meaning board games and things to do at home, and the workout equipment was in that category. You couldn't even find a resistance band. And you can try and buy weights online, but unfortunately, opportunism speaks. The prices were inflated and they would run out of supplies. So we pretty much make do. In this case, Target was selling a pre-boxed weight set, which you can actually carry home to the parking lot. You can actually do do your lifts with that if you wanted to, because the weights the weights there were kind of small. The biggest one, I have them here, the biggest ones were 8 pounds, and then they just went down after that, so you can use these, but they have limitations. Obviously, if you're used to doing working your biceps, this won't last you very long, so you have to improvise. And but you mentioned some good equipment that most people wouldn't think about. So
Well, so a lot of I always get upset by the evil empires, Amazon. If I could find other ways of getting certain things quickly, I try to. I do try to, even if it's still a big company. Like I had to get this microphone thing, and I got it from Best Buy instead of Amazon. I mean, it's still a major company, but anyway. So, but if you're going to go with, these evil empires like Amazon, they seem, at this moment in time, they seem to have a lot available. The one thing that they don't seem to have available are solid weights. There are other ways of finding solid weight, whether, you can fill some sandbags, whether for people who aren't lifting heavy, simple things like water jugs, especially at the beginning of the pandemic, it was a lot of found objects for people. But Amazon seems to exactly. There you go. Yeah.
A little tip: if sand, unless you live by the beach, can be expensive. You can get it for free by the beach, but buying clean sand is actually more expensive than we think it is. And so, cat litter works just as well.
Oh yeah, that's good.
A little tip.
That's very good.
Yeah.
So see, I didn't even think about the kitty litter thing. So you win. But most of the stuff's available. It's only the solid weight that's not. I have one client. Everybody's worried about losing strength or size, and I miss using, heavier weight too. I'm not immune to wanting to have complete variety in my workouts and availability of everything I want to be using. But I have one client who did have some weight. So he was lifting 50 pounds. He had I think only one 50-pound dumbbell. And by the way, having one dumbbell is totally adequate. I'll give you the quick reason for that. But he was using one 50-weight dumbbell to press, among other things, press, rows, whatever. And he got back in his gym. Actually, he lives in a building that has a small gym, and they're allowing 2 people in at a time. I actually have a gym in my building, but they're staying closed. His particular building, 2 people in at a time. So this particular client I'm training virtually. And anyway, he went back to 65-pound weights, which was his top. That was his max for the most part. And it was like he never left the gym. 2 months later, after we were only using bands and some other stuff, we actually, for the first time, I had wanted to use these with him for a while. Some Olympic ring stuff, like just very beginner, almost TRX-ish kind of stuff. And he didn't lose strength. He didn't lose size in the 2.5 months. So you don't have to worry about that too much, I don't think. And I get it. You want to be able to show off to the guy next to you, but it doesn't matter that much. In other words, if you're able to mostly keep your strength, if you're able to mostly, yeah, exactly, we can't see anybody. If you're able to mostly keep if you're somebody who is very concerned with the aesthetic, if you're able to mostly keep your strength, mostly keep your look more or less, then what does it matter if you're lifting a 50-pound weight as opposed to a 70-pound weight? Again, I'm not saying we don't want to always progress, and people enjoy different things. So I do understand it.
Yeah. When you said the guy next to me, I'm like, oh, I don't see anybody. But I know
Yeah.
the gym is it's interesting. It's like you may think you're done with your workout or you're done with your set. And then, of course, like a bigger or a more in-shape guy will come and he'll start working out. So then all of a sudden that gives you more motivation to continue, So I know what you
Yeah.
Yes. Now, a while back when we spoke at first, you said that there were a lot of myths surrounding fitness and a lot of myths, a lot of ideas that people have that can ultimately be harmful. What are some of those myths that you speak of, or some of those things that can hamper our progress?
It's so funny because when we had this conversation, I remember stopping and saying, we talked about this, and then I thinking about how many there were, but I couldn't really think. And then I was talking about a couple of these myths. Now I'm trying to remember what we talked about as far as those myths are concerned.
Yeah.
I mean, one myth is, and I actually, so this comes to mind. Two. I'll give you two quick ones. One is that working out or lifting heavier weight or whatever it is will reduce mobility or make you stiff. A lot of people think that working out makes you stiff. Anytime you see a guy walking around the gym with big muscles who's super stiff, I can't completely diagnose them necessarily, but it is possible that they're training poorly, that they're not training through a better range of motion. That doesn't mean you can't do things with smaller range of motions, but you do want to continually try and expand that range of motion. So you don't have to, you don't have to be all stiff if you're a workout guy. It can, and in many ways should actually increase your mobility and range of motion. And then another thing that comes to mind right away is diet. And I always preface this by saying I am not a certified nutritionist, but I know a lot about nutrition. And of course, I do a lot of continuing education, but even when you're initially getting certified, you're learning a lot of that important information, that carbs are bad. Now, carbs are delicious. And
Agreed.
yeah, whatever I say, I always also say that there are obviously exceptions, a lot of exceptions, and things that work better for some people than for other people, and how people are burning calories. If they and you can train your body to burn carbs or fat or whatever more efficiently. But if a doctor says something differently and you're going on a very specific plan, go with what the doctor says. That is not me. I'm not a doctor. That said, carbs are super important. The majority of our calories should be carb intake. The function of carbs is energy and is our quick energy. So if I'm in the gym, those first, again, it's just pure science. Like those 10 to 15 seconds that I'm working really hard, I'm burning those carbs. I'm using those carbs. Carbs, fat, protein, they all have their function. So, right, protein, first of all, people think I got to have I was about to say the S word.
Yeah.
Ton. I need a shit ton of protein because that's how my muscle is going to build. Now, of course, you need good training to build muscle. as well to do it efficiently and effectively. But I use those words a lot. Protein's main function is to heal and repair and grow muscle. But if you're having too much of calories, it's going to turn to fat. So just having a ton of protein, there are other things that it could do to your body that may not be, it's beneficial, or could, other having too much protein can be problematic in other ways. So yes, have enough protein to support the activity that you're doing for sure. But the carbs are what's going to protect that protein. So you're going to have carbs, you're going to have those carbs for energy to then allow the protein to work to repair and heal and grow muscle. And obviously fat is vital for so many reasons, for cell formation and organ support and everything else. But yeah, so the big myth is that carbs are bad. And we talked about this, diet. I hate the word diet. Well, I don't hate the word diet, but I think a diet should be something, it should be what you're eating. So I say to you, what is your diet? And you say, oh, well, my diet is cookies and chips. Okay, fine. That's your diet. That's your diet. What's your diet? Oh, well, I'm a vegetarian. I actually am, but side note. Oh, I'm a vegetarian. And I love quinoa and beans, and I eat oatmeal every morning. Okay, that's your diet. The idea of dieting is very strange to me, not because people don't need to lose weight or do this or do that, but to me, diet should be a lifestyle. And people put a lot of effort into going on diets or fad diets or whatever it is. The big ones now are keto and intermittent fasting and those kinds of things. And look, if something's working for you and you've lost weight and you're happy and you feel healthy and you did your yearly physical and your blood work is coming up great and everything else, fine. Great. I'm glad you've lost that weight. I'm glad you're healthy. There's not one fix-all for everybody. As far as these diets, though, most people will yo-yo a little bit if they are going on a diet. They've already yo-yoed. That's why they're going on a diet. They've gained too much weight. Now they need to lose weight again. But think about the effort you're putting into these diets. Okay, I'm going to eat all this fat and I'm going to have no carbs and I'm not going to have any. And some of this food have like cancer fighting agents in them that you're giving up. Some of these foods are so healthy, basically, are healthy and great for your body. And you're saying, okay, I'm going to push those aside. You're doing all this work to lose weight. Why not just eat healthier? If you're going to put in all this work to make yourself semi-miserable at times, why not make yourself semi-miserable by changing your diet long-term, slowly, and then that will be sustainable. You will never have to make yourself miserable by going on a diet again. And yes, I realize there are exceptions, and I realize some people need a different kind of help and all those kinds of things. So I'm speaking in general terms.
I think you're being very charitable by saying semi-miserable, because some people go downright psychotic, when they're on that.
Yeah.
We talked about this. It's like, okay, there was a recipe for keto apple pie, and there are no apples in it because apples are not allowed on keto. So basically it was something called the coyote pepper, which has no carbs, but it also has no flavor, but it's got the same texture as an apple. So after you use your almond flour crust to make the cobbler part, you have to slice up the coyote apples, use the coyote peppers, use artificial apple flavoring, and then use artificial sweetener to make them taste like apples. Oh, man. Okay, so the apple, regardless of whatever religion you all are, the apple is probably one of the earliest fruits, one of the most historical and culturally significant fruits, although some say the forbidden fruit was actually a pomegranate. That's another show. And you're taking that and say you can't eat it. And listen, I know firsthand people that have lost a lot of weight on keto, and they are happy by it. It's like a cult, and I don't mean that derogatory, but there's like a whole network.
Yeah.
I think that low carb can be good. I think that we eat too many bad carbs because we haven't spoken about bad carbs versus good carbs. But carbohydrates are not really the antichrist, as many people think.
Yeah, and I do think, first of all, I love junk, and I found a way to to portion it. But I do things to save carbs. I don't want to. In other words, I'm not saying one can't just have a bagel if they want a bagel, and I'm not suggesting that those carbs will make you gain weight. It depends on what else you're eating during the day, blah blah blah. But for instance, I just got used to having my bagel scooped out, and if you ask for them to do that in the Midwest, well, first you have to find a place for the bagel, but then they'll look at you like you're batshit crazy. They don't. They give you. They don't even know what you're asking them. But but I'll have my bagel scooped out because then I could have my cookies later. So in other words, I'm not suggesting to just go all in, and obviously, like anything else, there is balance. But I like one of the things we spoke of actually is, I'm a vegetarian, and I have been for about 4.5 years. Although it's funny, it's even more. I keep on going through a transition as far as that's concerned. So the taste of meat, although I do still like it, my brain is, I think, slowly gearing away towards that. But anyway, for the most part, I love the taste of meat. I'm vegetarian, and I don't say this as a joke, but it comes out as one. Cold turkey. One night, it was just a decision. So it literally happened overnight. But veggie burgers, yeah, Beyond Burger, Impossible Burger, you have alternatives now. People say to me, well, is that healthy for you? No, it's not freaking healthy for me. It's processed junk. I'm not going to eat it all the time. But I like it. So I eat some things I like, and I, try not to have those things too often. I do, for the most part, have probably either one large cookie or 2 to 3 small cookies daily after dinner.
We'll keep that between the 2,000 of us, or however many of you. Yeah, that'd be nice. Uh-huh.
And I try not to buy chips because those become very difficult for me to keep away from.
Yes.
The keyword being try. I fail. I fail miserably, but I try. That's a really good point too, by the way. I just want to say this to make one more point, is that I don't always tell this to clients. Some people are working out, and I envy those people. And by the way, this is not a pat on the back. Obviously, I know what I'm doing, and I worked hard towards it. People say, oh, yeah, right, you don't like working out. Look at you. And I'm like, no. But the point, that's actually, I think that that can be helpful, that I don't like working out. Just yesterday, I saw a friend in Central Park. I was running. I don't like running. And I was doing my long weekly run, which is not that long, but like about 6 miles. And I'm not saying it is long, I guess, for some people. I'm just saying I'm not going like 10, 50 miles. But so my long run of the week, 6 miles. And she's like, I don't know how you get yourself to run, because I know you don't like it. I'm like, well, because, it's the benefit obviously the benefit you get, whether it's caloric burn, whether it's the high some people get from running. I don't think I get that high. As I say, have you ever seen somebody running? If somebody says, do you like running? My answer is, have you ever seen somebody smile when they're running? The only time you've ever seen somebody smile is when they're in a marathon and somebody hands them water, or they see a family member, or they're at the finish line. Now, I know people are going to be mad at me. They're like, I love running. Okay, great. You love running. That's fantastic. But so I don't always tell clients this, because some people they really do genuinely like working out, and I envy those people. But the point is, if anybody can really not like working out, can really not like running, and can still find a way to do this, 3, 4, 5 days a week, then I think it actually gives those people motivation to say, okay, you know what? I don't love doing it. I too am going to find a way to do this on a semi-daily basis.
I think a lot of people, they may not love the physical act, because when you think about it, yeah, it's you get an adrenaline rush. I think it's the way, but the actual act itself, you know, a lot of people may not like it. And I agree, running can be boring too. I find it bearable if you make a mix and music mix with some of your favorite songs, put on some, whatever it may be, whether it's old school funk and soul or disco or 80s pop or whatever it may be.
Whether it's Queen or Frankie Valli or
Yeah.
Britney Spears or a
Yeah,
great
yeah.
song from the 1920s.
Yeah, jazz, Yiddish folk music, whatever it may be, and just put it on and whatever makes you feel good while you're doing it. And then it may be a little bit more bearable. But I think we can all agree.
Actually, yesterday, sorry.
Well, I think we can all agree
Well,
that the majority of us, you know, don't love the physical act of working out. It's the effects, the endorphin rush after.
I
And
think some people do, but yeah, I totally hear you, and I agree with you for the most part. But some people genuinely seem to enjoy it, and strangely enough, I think vacation working out can be enjoyable. In other words, when I'm in an environment I'm not normally in and I go jogging, I find jogging much more enjoyable. When I'm in some town, you know, a couple states away, and I went camping, I brought my bands with me, I did my workout. Whether I'm camping and I have bands, or whether, you know, I'm not right now, obviously during COVID, but I'm out of state in a random gym. I actually find it a lot more enjoyable. Change of scenery can be really effective for people who don't like working out. And to get back to the music thing, it can be upsetting though, because yesterday you know, I was on shuffle in this particular playlist called Lorenzo, only because I made the playlist for Lorenzo and it's become my favorite playlist. But
Lorenzo,
so
watching, yes. Mm-hmm.
exactly. But man, I was so pissed off because I got home from the Edinburgh, and then a song that I would have really liked running to came on. It was like one of those songs that definitely was a motivating running song that would have helped me get through that last 5 minutes with poise and glory.
Yeah. Well, I do think that I do think that a lot of guys may go to the gym if you're lucky enough to have a workout partner or a group of people. Then it can become a social event too. So maybe they look forward to that, and it could also, in that situation, it could also be a source of motivation too. So yeah. And but I know a lot of people have been saying they have been gaining weight, and there's even a term for it. They call it it's either the pandemic 15 or the pandemic 25, and
Yeah.
I know that's rough too. So
Yeah. It's I think that you know, as far as trainers, people use them for different reasons. Some people use them for motivation. Hopefully the trainer is a skilled trainer, and obviously that trainer is not only about motivating the person, but about, to use the same terminology, putting them through an effective and efficient workout. But you know, as far as the way I work with people too is I want to give people all the tools so that they could go work out on their own. Now, I do that for a number of reasons. One, I've actually never lost a client that way. In other words, the more information I give them, the more they trust me, the more they want to continue working with me. And yes, they can go off and do a workout on their own. But I have my master's in acting here in the city of Columbia. And by the way, I really think that there's certain schools like, and obviously I'm proud of it, but there's certain schools, like that's one school, if you say it too fast, you sound like an asshole. And if you say it too slow, you sound like an asshole. You have to say it at just the right speed. Otherwise the way it sounds coming out of your mouth, you could sound kind of like a jerk. You could bleep out the a-hole word if you want, but
oh no. We won't censor. You know, we're
free reign. But yeah, so I can.
You've seen some of the shows we've had in the past. Come on now.
Yeah. Well, so first of all, I just lost my train of thought. Well, what I was going to say is that, this is what I was going to preface this also by saying that I am very dedicated to all that I do. So I don't always talk about my performance career and the creative side of that, because I don't want somebody to think, well, they're not invested in this as well. And, you know, that sort of thing. Most people really appreciate the two sides of the coin. But obviously I am fully invested and engaged in all my clients, regardless that there is this other thing that I do. And they actually enhance each other in many ways, because a lot of my physical training in acting in grad school does carry over to physical personal training. But as I say to people, I say to clients, I say, look, I have my master's in acting, and can I go into an audition and really kick butt in that audition, you know, look at the material and analyze it and go in and do well? Yes, of course I can. Is it going to be as strong and effective as if I worked with somebody else? No. So, and obviously we know professional athletes work with people. Now, for different reasons, obviously they have millions of dollars on the line, but the fact is, the more you progress, in some ways, the more there is a reason to work with somebody, because you always want to get to that next level. But so, like, as far as preparing material in the acting world and not having that third eye, not being able to have as good a performance, it's similar with training. You can go work out on your own, do it. You won't have the same effectiveness as if you are working with somebody. My training, my physical training, actually does transfer over to a lot of my personal training, which is also physical training, different kind. And I find that very, very useful. But, you know, I could prepare material for an audition, and I know how to do it. I was in, you know, got my master's in the whole acting thing, and that doesn't make me necessarily fantastic or not, but I know how to analyze material. I can go and I can give a really decent audition, but it's not going to be as effective, most likely, as if I have that third eye, if I'm working with somebody. So in training, it's very similar. It's a similar thing in that go work out by yourself and have that extra day or days or whatever it is. If you're only able to afford working out with me once a week, great. I totally understand that. I'm going to try and set you up for success regardless. And that said, clients continue working with you because that third eye is important, because while they can work out, they're not necessarily going to get the same effectiveness as they working out alone as they are working out with you, because you are really giving them specific programming and helping them to achieve their goal. And goals change. So whatever their goal, maybe they had a goal, you know, I wanted to lose 20 pounds this year. And so they've achieved that goal, then their goal is going to change. So.
Right. Yeah, I think that ideally a personal trainer is there as a teacher, but that means that you have to learn something. If you're going to forget them the minute you leave,
Yeah.
it's not going to do any good. So, and I think that it's a good springboard for people to get started with and then move on, because ultimately we're all responsible for our own health and fitness. And so there's nothing wrong with asking for expert help, you know, but again, that doesn't mean that they're doing the work for you. You have to take what they teach you, and then you have to still work hard after that. So, wow.
For sure.
Yeah. Wow. So is there anything else you'd like to tell the masses, or anything that you're working on now that you want to share with everybody?
No, not too much. I mean, as far as this interview is concerned, I've been a little bit of a blabbermouth, so I think I've gotten a lot of, I guess that's the point of an interview, but I've gotten a lot of information out there. I'm
a firm believer there's never such a thing as too much information. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have my own talk show to begin with.
Well, good. Then we'll go on for another hour. No, just kidding.
Well, the mass ADD from our culture in general may not agree with that. Unfortunately, I think it's a great idea.
Yeah, I agree. No, let's see. What can I tell people? Well, number one, they could go to you said this, I think, but if they were interested in training, they could go to theaccomplishedbody.com. spelled
Yes.
the way it sounds, theaccomplished.body.com. So they can get in touch with me that way. There are other things that there's lots of performance stuff out there that they can find. Actually, one of my COVID things. So I have a pilot in development, as I said, which I can't say too much about, but it's very exciting. That makes it sound really important. I can't say too, everybody, but no, but it's about my essentially my life growing up with divorced parents who separated when I was about 6, having a gay father, and sounds hilarious, doesn't it? No, it's kind of like a dark comedy. So aiming towards the streaming world. One of the things I created was this. It's called, if you look up on YouTube, The Last 5 Puppet Years. I just didn't use the word Muppet, but it's if anybody knows the show, The Last 5 Years. It is a 25-minute parody of the last 5 years using Kermit and Piggy as the driving force. So that's pretty funny. Check it out if you want. And I just keep on, I never thought really I'd be putting out like online content stuff, but it's become a thing to do during COVID to keep yourself sane. As far as saying, it's funny, as far as like singing, that's something I am unmotivated with as far as warming up and keeping my voice in shape. So really the reason I started to do more content was because I realized it was the one way that it was allowing me to exercise my voice. But yeah, so lots of creative stuff going on, lots of training going on, and I guess that's it.
Well, we do agree upon one thing. We make things overly complicated sometimes. I should take that back. We agree upon many things, but one of the things we agree upon is that sometimes we do make things too complicated, and sometimes we just need to go back to basics. And we all know this is not new news. This has been around for centuries. That okay, you eat less and you move more, do activity, you will lose weight, and little by little does the trick. So yeah, things are going to be hard. Even abdominal muscles, like it gets easier when you do your first sit-ups. It's rough when you do your first push-ups or your first plank. Yeah, you feel like you're going to die. Or your burpees. I don't know if you're a fan of those, but someone showed them to me, and I was, oh, good Lord, just let me die, because I feel like I'm going to. And
it is very rare that you see somebody doing those well.
How true.
It's one of those things that you can really hurt yourself doing if you're not doing it well.
Right. But everything gets easier. And when I was growing up in the 80s, for a while, I was around when NutraSweet Equal was first invented. Before that, there was only saccharin, sweet and low. And that all of a sudden sugar was the enemy. Like sugar in all forms was the enemy. And NutraSweet and artificial sweeteners were packed into everything. And then it was the fat. That's when you had the Snackwell fat-free cookies that supposedly housewives were fighting over in the supermarket. That you or me? So, yeah, supposedly housewives were fighting with at the supermarket. And now we have keto, and I tell people that the basic rules have not changed. Yeah, we know a lot more about food, but overall the basic rules have not changed. So same advice for the alcoholics. It's good advice for all of us. One day at a time, and a lot of common sense. And we're all the masters of our own body and our own health. So you just have to find out what works well for you. So.
If I knew in my 20s what I knew now, I feel like my body's, I've nursed my body and trained my body into pretty good shape. I was throwing myself around in my 20s and definitely not doing things that were necessarily great for my body while training. And, it's important to start those things early to minimize any issues that you might have. By the way, it's like 95 degrees out there here now. I'm really starting to sweat. To minimize difficulties when you're older. That said, once you start to get a couple years older, you lose. and I know this is professional athleticism, but there's a reason why you start to see a 30-year-old, sometimes even younger, but a 30, 31-year-old running back start to decline, because your body does start to decline every 10. I mean, it obviously each year very, very slowly, but you sort of look at it in 10-year increments. And it's important to keep your body healthy, and the simple things, you can't prove a negative. I can't say I didn't get hurt when I flipped over my bike because of my training. If I'm not wearing a helmet and I smash my head, my training doesn't matter too much, probably. But if I'm wearing my helmet, I flip over my bike and I land in a certain way, it's very, and these things have happened to me, it's very likely that I would have, had a much more serious injury with certain things that did happen. And it's simple things. Somebody who's 50, 60, 70, I'm not saying 50 years old, it's not, nor 70 really necessarily. But, as you get older, you're losing certain balance and things start to happen. And, if you hit a crack on the sidewalk, you don't want to fall over and smash your head. You don't want to fall over and smash your hip at 70 years old, where you break your hip, and that really could send you into a lot of decline. So it's about quality of life, essentially.
Yes. Right. And that's why you should have those chips every once in a while when you feel the craving,
Yeah, I'm telling you, that is part of quality. There's actually, putting the food aside, there's one woman that I've worked with who's, I think she was 92. I think she's probably 93 now, but she, this woman could plank better than a 33-year-old.
Oh, wow.
Pretty amazing, yeah.
Nice. Well, listen, they say, I just heard this quote, which is an old quote. It's been around for centuries. I don't even know who said it, or decades at least. But they said that 40 is the old age of your youth, and 50 is the youth of your old age.
Oh,
and for someone
funny.
for someone that like me who's going to be turning 50 in a few months, I'm just like, oh, good Lord. All right, I can even deal with that. But what happens in the next 10 years? Oh, wow.
You're a youngin'.
Well, now I might have to ask that 93-year-old woman who does the planks for advice.
Well, clearly I'm not worried about how old I look, because I've decided to really roll with the COVID beard.
I love it.
And there's definitely some grays in here now. So if I wanted to look younger, I would definitely get rid of this.
Well, nothing a little bit of modern chemistry can't handle. I'm a big fan of that. You could.
That's true.
15 minutes flat. So,
yeah.
Kevin, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. And again, everybody, Kevin Reed's website is theaccomplishedbody.com. Again, the name alone is forcing me to believe in it. And again, leave your comments and get in touch with Kevin on social media or through theaccomplishedbody.com. And Kevin, look forward to eventually meeting you in person.
If you do find me on social media somehow, then let me know how you know me, because I am one of those people who will not accept people if I don't know you.
Yes, and don't send a picture.
So,
if your profile picture is a cartoon character or your pet, it may be time to upgrade, just saying, because...
Yeah, exactly.